October 2024. Ondrej Húserka, the quiet prodigy of Slovak climbing, stands with Marek Holeček atop Langtang Lirung's east face, a route no human has ever survived. For 7 days, they've clawed up 2.5 vertical kilometers, refusing ropes, porters, or oxygen. Their victory photo glows with relief, but the truth is devastating. This Himalaya climber is already dead, and he just doesn't know it yet. In minutes, a single flaw will erase a lifetime of precision and turn triumph into tragedy. What happened on that descent, and why would the purest climb extract the highest price? Ondrej Húserka was born in Slovakia in 1990, in a valley where the mountains seemed to press in on all sides. He grew up in the shadow of the Tatras, learning early that silence and patience could reveal more than bravado ever would. By his teens, he had already mapped out the ridges and couloirs of his home range, trading soccer games for lonely dawns on icy slopes. Most children collect trophies or medals. Ondrej collected first ascents, each one logged quietly in a battered notebook. His climbing partners remember him as the calmest person on the wall. In Patagonia, when a storm pinned his team below Aguja Desmochada, it was Ondrej who rationed food and kept spirits steady. In Kyrgyzstan, he led the push up the west face of Peak Alexander Block, 1,000 meters of untouched rock, without a single boast. He was the type who'd finish a new route, take a single photo, and then spend an hour cleaning up stray pitons left by others. By his early 30s, Ondrej's resume read like a wish list for any alpinist. Cerro Torre in 2019, the Aiguille du Plan in 2020, and a rare summit on Falcon Ménard in the Gangotri in 2023. Yet he stayed out of the spotlight, letting others chase magazine covers and sponsorships. Friends called it quiet strength. He called it respect for the mountain, for the risk, and for the invisible line that separates ambition from arrogance. For Ondrej, every climb was a lesson in humility, and every summit a reminder that nothing is ever truly conquered. Langtang Lirung's east face had a reputation that kept even the boldest climbers at bay. Sheer and unbroken for nearly 2.5 kilometers, it had turned back every team that tried. Japanese in 2010, Ecuadorians in 2022. Each attempt ending below the summit, chased off by avalanches or crumbling ice. For Ondrej, the only way that wall could be climbed was in the purest style. No fixed ropes, no porters, no bottled oxygen. Just 2 men, moving as one, carrying everything they needed on their backs. He knew exactly who he wanted by his side. Marek Holeček, a Czech climber whose name was already etched into the history of Himalayan alpinism. 2 Piolet d'Or awards, a string of first ascents on the world's hardest faces, and a reputation for surviving the kind of situations most people only read about in accident reports. Marek had turned back from Langtang's east face before, forced down by storms and avalanche risk. But he'd never lost the hunger. When Ondrej reached out, Marek didn't hesitate. Their planning was a pact, written in emails and route notes, committing to a single principle: climb light, climb honest, accept every risk that comes with it. That meant leaving behind backup ropes, extra hardware, and the safety nets most expeditions depend on. If something went wrong, there would be no rescue, no margin to fall back on. The reward was a clean ascent, a line drawn straight up the face, and a shot at solving one of the Himalayas' last great problems. 2 climbers, 1 unclimbed wall, no compromises. From their first step onto the east face, every move demanded total focus. The wall rose for 2.5 kilometers, so steep, so exposed, that even a moment's lapse meant disaster. Ondrej and Marek advanced together, tied to the same line, hauling their world on their backs. 5 nights in a row, they carved bivouacs into wind-scoured ledges, sometimes barely wide enough to sit. The cold pressed in from all sides. turning breath to ice and sleep into a series of shivers and half-dreams. Food ran low, water had to be melted from crusted snow, and the sound of avalanches cracking in the distance offered no comfort. On the third day, a chunk of rock the size of a football ricocheted down the face and struck Ondrej's helmet. The shell cracked, but he stayed upright, blinking away the shock, refusing to let Marek see any fear. They checked the damage, shared a silent look, and kept climbing. The line they chose offered no shortcuts, just vertical ice, rotten rock, and the constant threat of something breaking loose above them. Each anchor drilled into the wall was a gamble. Every pitch climbed was a small victory over exhaustion. By the time they neared the summit ridge, both men were running on reserves. Marek's hands shook as he hammered the last piton. Ondrej's breath came in short, dry bursts. But neither spoke of turning back. The only way out was up. Behind them, the wall dropped away in dizzying relief. Ahead, the final meters glimmered in the thin Himalayan light. The summit was close, but the price had already been paid in strength and nerve. Marek hammered the final abalakar. Cove anchor into the ice, drilling 2 intersecting holes and threading a loop of cord. At that altitude, even the smallest task felt like a battle. He clipped in, weighted the anchor, and dropped into the void. 8 meters down, his boots touched the snow. The anchor held. The rope went slack. Marek called up, voice thin in the wind. Ondrej's turn. He checked his harness, clipped in, and trusted the same thread of cord. There was a sharp crack, too sudden for a warning, too final for a second chance. The ice above the anchor shattered, releasing a chunk the size of a helmet. Ondrej dropped straight down, slammed hard against the slope, then tumbled out of sight into a maze of crevasses. Marek scrambled down, heart pounding, yelling into the blue silence. He found Ondrej wedged upside down, one arm pinned under his body, legs twisted at an impossible angle. Blood stained the snow. Ondrej was conscious, speaking softly, but his words slowed with each breath. He said he couldn't feel his legs. Marek tried everything, cutting away gear, pulling at his partner's harness, whispering encouragement. The hours stretched on. Light faded, the cold thickened, and hope thinned with every minute. Ondrej's breathing grew shallow. He asked Marek to stay. For 4 hours, Marek kept vigil, refusing to leave. Ondrej's last breaths were slow, almost peaceful. Then nothing. High on the east face of Langtang Lirung, surrounded by ice and silence, Ondrej Húserka was gone. Bad weather rolled in over Langtang Lirung as soon as the news reached base camp. Cloud banks swallowed the summit ridge, and for days, helicopters waited on the tarmac in Kathmandu, grounded by strict aviation rule and unpredictable winds. Marek descended alone, his messages to friends and family heavy with grief and exhaustion. In the valleys below, Ondrej's family and climbing partners pleaded for a quick recovery, but the mountain offered no easy passage. When the skies finally cleared, veteran Sherpa guides moved in, led by pilot Bibek Kadka. They navigated crevasses and unstable snow, working quietly and quickly, retrieving Ondrej's body from the labyrinth below the face. Marek was kept away by both bureaucracy and safety concerns, left tough to mourn in silence while the physical chapter of their climb came to a close. The new lineup, Langtang Lirung's east face, now carries a name: Ondrova Vesta, Ondrej's star. It stands as both a tribute and a question. In the weeks after the accident, climbers from Slovakia, the Czech Republic, and Nepal gathered at base camp and in distant valleys, raising flags and sharing stories about Ondrej's quiet strength. Memorial climbs were held on ridges he once crossed, and online forums filled with messages from partners, rivals, and strangers. Some called the ascent a milestone for pure alpine style. No fixed ropes, no oxygen, no outside support. Others wondered if the risks had gone too far. if the pursuit of purity sometimes blinds even the most skilled to the mountain's indifference. The debate is ongoing, but Ondrej's star remains on the map, a line drawn in memory and in caution, its legacy as complex as the man it honors. In October 2024, Ondrej Húserka and Marek Holeček became the first to climb the east face of Langtang Lirung, a 7,234-meter peak whose route had defied all previous attempts. Their ascent in alpine style, without fixed ropes, porters, or oxygen, is fully documented in summit photos, partner statements, and rescue reports. Ondrej's fatal fall, caused by the failure of a single Abalakov anchor, was investigated through eyewitness accounts and technical analysis. Yet the precise cause of the anchor's collapse remains unresolved due to missing physical evidence from the site. Recovery efforts, delayed by severe weather, were recorded in helicopter logs and Sherpa team reports. The route, now known as Heavenly Trap, is recognized in public memorials, but debate continues within the climbing community about the risks and ethics of pure alpine style. What is clear, even unparalleled skill cannot guarantee safety in the high Himalaya. Ondrej's legacy endures as both a milestone in modern alpinism and a sobering reminder that ambition on unclimbed peaks always comes with a cost.